Good evening, it's Monday the 3rd of November and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Earthquake tragedy. 6.3 magnitude quake devastates Mazar-e-Sharif, killing over 20 and injuring hundreds. Diplomatic tension. Trump threatens military action against Nigeria, ordering Pentagon preparations. Urban innovation. New Brooklyn laundromat transforms washing routines into a vibrant community hangout.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Selena Jayathilaka.
Good evening and thank you once again for joining us on World News Tonight on other Derana news channel. A magnitude 6.3 earthquake struck near Mazar-e-Sharif, killing at least 20 people and injuring roughly 320. The U.S. Geological Survey recorded the quake at about 28 kilometers depth. Authorities reported damage to the historic Blue Mosque and widespread power outages as rescue efforts continue.
Northern provinces of Balkh and Samangan were hardest hit. Videos reporting show collapsed buildings, debris-strewn streets and first responders pulling victims from rubble. Provincial officials warned casualty and injury figures could rise as teams reached remote communities cut off by damage and weather. Hospitals in Mazar-e-Sharif were placed on high alert and medical teams received dozens of the seriously injured for treatment. Power lines from neighboring countries were damaged, causing outages in Kabul and elsewhere and complicating rescue logistics. Humanitarian and local authorities face access challenges in mountainous terrain. Afghanistan sits on active fault lines and has endured deadly quakes this year. A late summer timber killed well over 1,000 people and strained relief capacity. With many homes not earthquake resistant and winter approaching, aid and search and rescue urgency remain high as officials assess longer-term shelter and recovery needs.
ISRO launched CMS-03 aboard the LV-M3-M5 from Sriharikota. The fifth operational flight will provide expanded communications and maritime coverage, strengthening naval links and India's independent heavy lift launch capability.
The LV-M3-M5 lifted CMS-03 into a geosynchronous transfer orbit yesterday. The ISRO confirmed the satellite was injected within the specification of the orbit. CMS-03 weighs roughly 4,410 kilograms and will use its onboard Apogee engine to reach the final geostationary position. ISRO and defense reporting say CMS-03 will bolster the Indian Navy's communications and maritime domain awareness across the Indian Ocean region, offering higher bandwidth and persistent links for ships, aircraft and coastal nodes, a key capability for maritime security and operations. Launching a roughly 4.4-ton ComSat on an indigenous LV-M3 marks a step towards reducing reliance on foreign heavy lift services. Previously, larger payloads were sent abroad, for example on Ariane. The success demonstrates LV-M3's growing payload envelope and supports future large sat and human-rated ambitions.
South Korea launched the fifth and final reconnaissance satellite under the 425 project from Florida yesterday, completing a 5-satellite constellation. Officials say the network enables round-the-clock all-weather monitoring of North Korea with revisits roughly every 2 hours, bolstering Seoul's independent surveillance and rapid response capabilities and intelligence sharing support.
At Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket took off on Sunday carrying South Korea's fifth and last satellite under the 425 project. The satellite reached orbit after 14 minutes and established communication with a ground station about an hour later.
The 425 project's 5th satellite was launched normally from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, settled into its target orbit, and successfully communicated with the ground station, confirming the satellite is in good condition.
With this launch, South Korea's independent surveillance capabilities have been significantly enhanced. The 425 project is a major milestone in South Korea's independent defense strategy. It consists of 5 satellites, 1 electro-optical and infrared satellite, and 4 synthetic aperture radar or SAR satellites. The EOIR satellite provides extremely high-resolution image but is limited by weather conditions. The 4 SAR satellites use radar to capture images, allowing them to conduct surveillance 24 hours a day regardless of cloud cover or darkness. This launch completes the constellation of satellites in an impressively short time frame. The first satellite, the EOIR satellite, was launched in December 2023. With this fifth launch, South Korea has successfully deployed its entire medium to large satellite network in less than 2 years. The first 3 satellites are already fully deployed. The fourth is undergoing its final operational evaluation. Once this fifth satellite is also fully tested, the system will be complete. Once all the satellites are operational, the South Korean military can monitor key targets in North Korea at intervals of approximately 2 hours. This significantly reduces the country's reliance on foreign intelligence assets. It directly enhances the kill chain preemptive strike system, a core pillar of South Korea's 3-axis defense. DAPA added that this is not the final step. It plans to further strengthen surveillance assets by developing a constellation of microsatellites in the coming years to eventually shorten the monitoring cycle over the Korean peninsula to as little as 30 minutes.
South Korea and Singapore elevated relations to a strategic partnership yesterday, announced after summit talks in Seoul between President Lee Jae-myung and Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. The deal pledges deeper cooperation on trade, defense technology, sustainability, and digital AI initiatives as both leaders signed a joint declaration.
After returning from the APEC and related events in Gyeongju, President Lee Jae-myung hosted Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong at his office in Seoul, who also attended the multilateral event to forge a strategic partnership.
And I've spent almost every day seeing you, so we don't feel like we are strangers to one another. I feel like I've known you for a long time already.
Areas of interest included cooperation on security, the economy, and AI at a time of increasing global uncertainties, as announced in a joint news conference. The two sides agreed to expand joint studies in the defense industry, tackle online scam crimes, seek greater investment and trade through their bilateral free trade agreement, as well as improve the Korea-ASEAN agreement. Korean beef and pork from Jeju will also be exported to Singapore for the first time. Other areas of focus were green and digital industries and regional security.
In this uncertain and rapidly changing world, partnerships between like-minded countries like Korea and Singapore have become ever more vital. I look forward to working closely with President Yi on the many initiatives we have discussed today.
Several MOUs were exchanged for cooperation on digital content, culture, logistics, and shipping.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. A Red Cross convoy delivered the remains of 3 people from Gaza to Tel Aviv after Hamas said they were found in a southern tunnel. Israeli forensic teams will test identities amid earlier disputes over returns. The transfers are part of the US-brokered ceasefires, prisoner and bodies exchange.
A convoy carrying the bodies of more Israeli hostages arrived in Tel Aviv on Sunday. The remains had been handed over by Hamas earlier in the day. It is thought they are 3 of the 11 deceased hostages still sought by Israel as part of a ceasefire deal. It is said that Hamas has been too slow to hand over the bodies, while Hamas says it is working as quickly as possible under difficult circumstances. The International Red Cross and Egyptian teams have been given permission to aid in the search for the bodies as well. The issue has been one of the disputes holding up full implementation of the US-brokered ceasefire deal. Earlier Sunday, an Israeli airstrike killed 1 man in northern Gaza. The Israeli military said it had struck a militant who was posing a threat to its forces. Country Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there would be further actions.
There are still Hamas pockets in areas under our control in Gaza, and we are systematically eliminating them. There are actually 2, one in Rafah and one in Khan Yunis, and they will be eliminated.
Hamas released what it called a list of violations of the ceasefire by Israel and denied that it had violated the deal by attacking Israeli soldiers. The ceasefire has calmed most fighting, however allowing hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to return to the ruins of their homes in Gaza. Under the agreement, Hamas released all living hostages and promised to hand over the remains of 28 dead ones. Before Sunday, it had turned over 17 of those.
President Donald Trump urged the Defense Department to prepare for possible action and designated Nigeria a country of particular concern, accusing radical Islamists of mass killings of Christians. He also said U.S. aid would be halted, prompting Nigerian officials to reject the characterization and call for restraint.
Here on the streets of Lagos, Donald Trump's threat of military intervention to protect Nigerian Christians dominate the headlines. And for some, it's a warning that they welcome.
Christians are not being scared to move about. Christians are scared to worship freely. If Donald Trump said they don't want to come in, they should come in, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Others acknowledged violence in the country, but said it affects all Nigerians.
It's not only the Christians they are killing. They are killing those who are not Christians too. But they are coming to assist. We should allow them, but we should not just depend on them.
Trump had accused the government of failing to protect Christians and threatened to scrap foreign aid, as well as saying he'd ordered the Pentagon to prepare for possible military action.
If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians.
It's unclear, though, which atrocities Trump is referring to. But his comments come days after he deemed Christians to be facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Multi-faith Nigeria is almost evenly divided between a Muslim-majority north and a largely Christian south. Islamist insurgents like Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa province have wrought havoc in the north of the country for over 15 years, killing tens of thousands of people. According to human rights groups, though Christians are amongst those targeted, most victims of armed groups are Muslims from the northeast, where most attacks occur.
Heavy rains triggered devastating mudslides in Elgeyo-Marakwet County, Western Kenya, killing at least 21 people and leaving about 30 missing. More than 1,000 homes were destroyed. Authorities airlifted around 25 critically injured to Eldoret for treatment. Rescue teams hampered by flooding continue searching amid concerns about more unstable slopes.
Mudslides as far as the eye can see. They stretch for miles. It all started with a landslide caused by torrential rain. In this village in Western Kenya, the downpours have given way to sunshine, but the mud has caused significant damage. Red Cross workers are busy trying to help the injured. Some are being evacuated by helicopter to be treated in hospital, but access to certain areas remains difficult, complicating their work. The authorities are asking residents in the region to be alert.
And I want to ask our people to be on the lookout. We want to request all of them to go to higher ground and to avoid areas that are prone to landslide, because we already know areas that are prone to landslide.
Last year, the rainy season caused several deaths in Kenya, but also in neighbouring countries, Ethiopia, Uganda and Tanzania.
British police say a mass stabbing on an LNER train from Peterborough to London left 11 people injured. 2 men were arrested near Huntingdon, which one later released. Authorities say the incident is not being treated as terrorism and a 32-year-old suspect remains in custody as investigations continue.
Police in Britain said on Sunday that a mass stabbing attack on a train was not being treated as terrorism after 2 British men were arrested. Eyewitness video showed people fleeing Huntingdon Station on Saturday night. That's where the train made an emergency stop on its way to London, around 80 miles north of the capital. Superintendent John Lovelace said armed officers arrested the pair on the train.
The first male, a 32-year-old male, a black British national, and a 35-year-old man, a British national of Caribbean descent. They were both arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. Both were born in the United Kingdom.
Lovelace said police were still trying to establish a motivation for the attack. It had put 11 people in hospital, with some fighting for their lives. Police said at least 4 people were discharged on Sunday after treatment. Prime Minister Keir Starmer called it an appalling incident that was deeply concerning. Knife crime in England and Wales has risen 87% over the past decade. There were nearly 54,600 offences last year, a 2% rise from 2023 and among the highest rates in Europe, official figures from Britain show. In a statement, Interior Minister Shabana Mahmood said she was deeply saddened while urging people to avoid speculation about the incident. The government is keen to stop rumours spreading on social media following a 2024 stabbing attack in Southport when internet claims over the murder of 3 girls sparked days of rioting across the country.
Time for a short commercial break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. Newborn Hazel, born in Minnesota with hydrocephalus and diagnosed with Mobius syndrome, cannot blink or form facial expressions. Parents Victoria and Bobby manage her feeding tube and eye care and launched a GoFundMe to cover mounting medical bills as her story spreads widely across social platforms.
Victoria Labrie, a 31-year-old mom of 5 from Minnesota, is talking about her infant daughter, Hazel, who was born with a rare condition that doesn't allow her to smile or close her eyes.
Looking at Hazel, who cannot show a smile, she cannot show a frown, she can't close her eyes or move them in a left or right direction, every behavior has a meaning. So when her eyes are doing a certain thing, you have to start paying attention. If they're going in a wonky direction, she is not happy. Something's wrong, she's probably in pain, figure it out. If they're focused on you, she's probably comfortable, she's listening, she does giggle, so you know when she is definitely happy. You watch her eye movements, if they're really wide, then she's in distress.
When Victoria was 20 weeks pregnant, she found out that her child had hydrocephalus, a condition where there is an excessive buildup of cerebrospinal fluid in the brain's ventricles. A shunt needs to be put in order for the fluid to drain properly.
Well, we've learned about the hydrocephalus at the 20-week anatomy scan, and that was a whole monster because we weren't being told at first that it was just that and we were going to have to deal with it when she was born. We were being told that the 2 sides of her brain had formed together and that she didn't stand a chance. The fluid was impacting the ability to see that. And so, unfortunately, what we were being told is that that was her fate, and we needed to start preparing for that. If we had allowed her life to continue, that she would constantly be seizing, she would be in complete pain, she wouldn't be able to see or hear.
Victoria says she was presented with the option to terminate the pregnancy. Once Hazel entered the world, Victoria knew something else was happening to her daughter.
As soon as they handed her to me and I saw her eyes open, I knew that it was not right.
Mobius syndrome is the rare condition that affects the facial nerves, resulting in a lack of facial expression and affects about 2 to 20 in 1 million babies.
Laundry Loft at 400 South 2nd Street in Williamsburg, Brooklyn has redesigned the neighborhood laundromat into a bright Wi-Fi-enabled hangout offering self-service machines, wash and fold, dry cleaning and eco-friendly equipment, open extended hours and hosting pop-ups, music nights and year-round programming.
This isn't your first laundromat to have a grand opening. But this isn't your average wash and dry. It's the Laundry Loft, located in Brooklyn. John and Heather Elder are the folks behind it. They say it's a place that goes beyond clean clothes. With multiple flat-screen TVs, vending machines, a coffee bar, and books and games, the spot brings something different to an area residents say it didn't previously have. Heather and John moved to New York from California in search of a new community, which they found online, along with some inspiration. From Erin and John Carpenter, who live in Charleston, they turned a rundown laundromat into a community hub, a space that hosts birthdays, concerts, even comedy shows, on top of a place to clean clothes. They say the main idea is creating a third place. Erin documented the transformation of their laundromat, Reynolds Laundry, on TikTok and Instagram. Many of her videos went viral, bringing in millions of views. Then she got a DM from Heather.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Selena Jayatillaka, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of Katrina Elegance dazzling Mexico City's vibrant Day of the Dead parade. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.adncenglish@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Thank you for watching World News Tonight on Other Derana News Channel. Have a good night.